Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, I would love to share with all my subscribers and viewers our recipe for cooking simple, easy, and delicious chuck roast beef at home. Picture this, a tantalizing chuck roast beef, golden brown, crispy on the outside, tender and juicy on the inside. Imagine the rich, savory flavors dancing on your tongue, the succulent texture that melts in your mouth, the intoxicating aroma that fills the room, and the delightful crunch of the golden crust. This isn't just a dish, it's a culinary masterpiece, a symphony of flavors and textures, a feast for the senses. Ready to create this culinary? Let's dive right into the process. To start off, preheat your oven to 325 degrees. This is a crucial step, ensuring that our roast will cook evenly and thoroughly. While our oven is busy reaching that perfect temperature, let's move on to the star of today's show, our chuck roast. Just like with any good lead actor, we want to make sure our roast is looking its best. That's where seasoning comes in. So let's generously sprinkle both sides of our beef with salt and black pepper. Remember, seasoning is more than just adding flavor. It's about enhancing the natural taste of the beef, creating a harmony between the meat and the spices. Make sure to press the seasoning into the meat so it adheres well. This is not just a sprinkle and go situation. This attention to detail will make all the difference in the final result. Now, with our beef perfectly seasoned, we're ready for the next step. Turn on the stove to medium heat and place a medium skillet on top. Time to sear our beef. Now, this is where the magic happens. Searing the beef is not just about cooking it, it's about locking in those flavors and giving the beef a beautiful, appetizing brown crust. As we place the beef on the skillet, we're greeted by a delightful sizzle. That's music to a chef's ears, and it's a sure sign that our beef is starting to sear perfectly. It's the sound of flavor being sealed in, of a delicious crust beginning to form. It's the symphony of searing, and it's playing our favorite tune. We're going to let the beef sear on one side for about 5 minutes. We don't want to move it around too much. We want to let it sit and develop that lovely crust. And while it's searing, the beef is also absorbing the heat, which will help it cook evenly throughout. After about 5 minutes, it's time to flip our beef over. Use a pair of tongs for this. They give you a good grip and keep your hands safely away from the hot skillet. As we flip the beef, we're met with a beautiful sight. A perfectly browned surface, lightly charred in places, glistening with delicious juices. That's the result of good searing. Now the other side gets its turn. We let it sear for another 5 minutes. The second side might cook a bit faster, thanks to the heat that's already penetrated the beef. So keep an eye on it and adjust the heat if necessary. As the second side finishes searing, we're left with a piece of beef that's beautifully browned on both sides. It's not fully cooked yet, but it's well on its way. The searing process has locked in the beef's natural flavors, and the heat has started to break down the tough fibers, making it tender and juicy. With our beef beautifully seared, it's time to move to the baking process. This next step will slow cook our beef to perfection, letting it soak up the flavors of the beef stock and red wine we've prepared. But that's a story for the next scene. Stay tuned. Grab an oven pot and add 1 cup of beef stock and half a cup of cooking red wine. This isn't just a random step, folks. This is where the magic happens, where we start to transform our seared beef into a succulent, tender masterpiece. The beef stock and red wine work together to infuse our chuck roast with a deep, rich flavor that will have your taste buds dancing with delight. Now remember the beautifully seared beef we have? It's time to introduce it to its new best friends, the beef stock and red wine. Gently place the beef into the pot, making sure it's settled comfortably. Then cover the pot with foil or a lid if you have one. This helps to trap in the heat and moisture, ensuring our beef cooks evenly and stays juicy. Once everything is nicely tucked in, it's time for the oven to do its thing. Set your oven to a cozy 325 degrees and slide the pot in. We're going to let it bake for about 4 hours. Yes, 4 hours. This isn't fast food. This is slow, lovingly prepared food that takes time. But trust me, the end result is worth every minute. While our beef is slowly transforming into a tender delight, it's not time to sit back and relax just yet. We have one more key step in the baking process. After about 3 hours, you'll want to check on the beef. If it's as tender as you'd like, we're going to give it a bit of a suntan. Increase the oven temperature to 425 degrees and let it bake uncovered for about 25 minutes. This will give our beef some nice crispy ends that add a delightful contrast to the tender interior. While our beef is transforming into a tender delight, we'll prepare the garnish. This is where we get to add some color and extra flavor to our dish. But more on that in the next scene. For now, let's just bask in the anticipation of our soon-to-be-ready, mouth-watering chuck roast beef. Our choice of garnish today is asparagus, broccolini, and cherry tomatoes. As we wait for the beef to roast to perfection, it's time to shift our attention to the garnish. This trio of vibrant vegetables not only adds a pop of color to our dish, but each brings its own unique flavor profile that harmonizes with our roast. First, we have asparagus. Its earthy, savory flavor is a classic pairing with beef, and it adds a delightful crunch to our dish. We'll keep the preparation simple. A quick sauté in a bit of olive oil, seasoned with salt and pepper. Next, we have broccolini, a relative of broccoli but with a milder, sweeter flavor. It's a fantastic complement to the rich, hearty taste of our roast. Just like the asparagus, we'll sauté it lightly to keep it crisp and fresh. Finally, we have cherry tomatoes. These little gems add a burst of sweetness and acidity that cuts through the richness of the beef. We'll leave them on the vine and roast them in the oven for a few minutes to concentrate their flavors. So why these garnishes? It's all about balance. The savory asparagus, sweet broccolini, and tangy tomatoes each play a part in creating a symphony of flavors that enhances rather than competes with our star, the chuck roast beef. With our garnish ready, let's check on our roast. Raise the oven heat to 425 and place the beef back in the oven, uncovered, for about 25 minutes. Now this is where the magic happens. In these final minutes, the beef's exterior transforms into a beautifully crisp golden brown crust. The high heat reacts with the proteins in the beef, creating what food scientists call the Maillard reaction. This reaction is the key to developing those delightful, crunchy ends that are so satisfying to bite into. It's a symphony of flavors and textures that's sure to make your taste buds sing. But don't be too hasty to cut into your masterpiece. After the beef has achieved its perfect crust, it's essential to let it rest. This resting period allows the juices which have been driven to the center of the beef during cooking to redistribute. It's a vital step that ensures every bite is as juicy and flavorful as the last. While our star of the show is taking its well-deserved break, let's turn our attention to the garnish. We've got asparagus, broccolini, and cherry tomatoes on the vine. These vibrant veggies not only add a pop of color to the plate, but they also provide a delightful contrast in texture and flavor to the rich, hearty beef. Sautéing these veggies is a quick and easy process. A dash of olive oil in a hot pan, a sprinkle of salt and pepper, and in just 5 minutes, you've got a deliciously tender, crisp garnish that's ready to join the roast on the plate. And now, the moment we've all been waiting for, plating our chuck roast beef. The beef in all its glory takes center stage, surrounded by the colorful array of sautéed vegetables. It's a sight to behold, a feast for the eyes as much as it is for the palate. The culmination of hours of patient cooking, this dish is sure to impress at any dinner table. Enjoy the fruits of your labor and remember, the best meals are those shared with loved ones. Here we have it, our mouth-watering homemade chuck roast beef. Crisp on the outside, tender and succulent on the inside. The aroma of the perfectly seasoned beef combined with the freshness of the asparagus, broccolini, and cherry tomatoes is simply irresistible. It's not just a dish, it's an experience. It's a call to your culinary adventure, a temptation for your taste buds. Thank you for joining me in creating this delicious dish. Until next time, happy cooking.